Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Christian's Colloquy. I'm Christian, and I'm so glad that you could join me again this week. Today's episode comes a bit out of the blue. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that there's no video. I am recording this at the time episodes typically come out. So what's going on here? I had an episode planned for this week, but after some further thought, thinking about some of the feedback I got on my denomination interviews, I thought, let me pause in the series and now just give a bit of an explanation of what's going on and talk a little bit about what the purpose of this project is. So if you follow Christian's Colloquy, you know that over the past 2 weeks, I've started having some interviews with various people from different denominations and Christian traditions. So I already had a Pentecostal on, a Dutch Reformed Christian, and lined up in the future, I have a Lutheran, a Presbyterian, and right now I'm in the talks of hopefully getting on a Brethren, maybe a Wesleyan Methodist, maybe an Anabaptist of various tradition. And this is all part of this summer series in exploring other denominations, Christian traditions, whatever we want to call it. I think this will be called the Christian Tradition Series 2021 or something along those lines. So as I was preparing this series, I realized there are 3 things I want to accomplish in terms of content. First of all, the backbone is having those interviews with people from other Christian traditions. And the purpose of that aspect is to just learn about one another, to appreciate dialogue with one another, and just really come away understanding that, hey, there are other Christian traditions out there who have some very smart, gifted people who do things differently, and they have their reasons for doing that. So that's really an opportunity to showcase what else is going on out there, and not only what else is going on out there in terms of the denominational landscape, but to hear it from other people themselves, to rather get beyond the stereotypes, get beyond the conceptions we might have, and just allow someone from another tradition to share what they have going on. And I think that's a valuable project. It reminds us that, hey, if you're an evangelical Baptist like myself, we're not the only Christians out there. There are other people out there who are genuine Christians, but who have different positions on various doctrines, from little doctrines where we might see, hey, people can do things differently and it's all good, all the way up to some pretty serious doctrines. While we believe we are brothers and sisters in the faith, we believe we have some very serious disagreements that we cannot take lightly, that one of us is right, one of us is wrong, but we're going to talk about it, we're going to learn about it so that we can engage with each other honestly, openly, for the sake of our mutual betterment and mutual growth. So this is a project about learning from other people, hopefully allowing that to trickle down into our lives so that we're better aware of what other people actually teach, whether it's so that we can come alongside them and appreciate them as brothers and sisters, or realize, hey, we need to maybe take a step back if you're thinking about visiting one of those churches, or maybe you're thinking about, hey, I'll join this church or that church, just being aware of what they actually teach. And you might say, hey, no, that wouldn't be good, that wouldn't be healthy, and that sort of thing. So a learning project. So that's the first content. It's those interviews. I think they will be helpful. The second thing I want to do after that, after I have the series of interviews, I want to begin to have my own reviews of the various denominations we cover. And the idea behind that is, as an elder at my church, I'll occasionally get people come up and say, hey, Christian, there's this denomination or this church out there. What do they believe? What do they have going on? And of course, while I could direct them to that denomination's resources, their teaching, and I probably would suggest checking those out, I would also want to share my own ideas and my own analysis of that other tradition. And while I'm not an expert on various denominations, I believe as an elder, as someone who's seminary trained, and as someone who spends a lot of time online researching and discussing and dialoguing with other people from other traditions, I do have some insight into what others believe. And I would speak as an evangelical Baptist saying, hey, here's why I believe you should be an evangelical Baptist. I'm not ashamed of that. I think everyone should be an evangelical Baptist. And I have reasons why I don't believe that you should be another denomination. While I'm not calling into question the other denomination's Christian profession, if it's a Christian denomination, of course, while I'm not seeking to personally attack people from different traditions, I would want to be open and honest about why we are different and why we're not together on a Sunday morning, why we do have different Christian traditions, and why we do have some serious disagreements. So that will be the second piece. After the interviews, I will come back through and share my thoughts on the various traditions. I might group them up a little bit, and those will be a series of episodes that that I give you my evaluation. I'll probably talk about the strengths of various denominations, what they seem to be doing well in terms of their actual doctrine, their theological culture, their practice on the ground. And of course, that will be based on my experience with these denominations. I can't speak to every stream, every group, every practice, but I'll give the general overview. And then, of course, I'll share some of the things that keep me out of that tradition and why I believe you should be an evangelical Baptist instead. So certain doctrines I think they have wrong, certain places I think they need to grow. And that would be, again, a project not only to help listeners who are evangelical Baptists understand what separates them from other people and why they might appreciate other people and so on and so forth, but from people from various traditions. I think there's a value in understanding, hey, here's how an evangelical Baptist is hearing what we teach and how they're responding to it, what they see is good, what they see is not so good, and maybe what they're misunderstanding, and maybe you have to brush up your presentation or be more careful when explaining. There's a disagreement in language and so on and so forth. So I think there's a value in then hearing what I have to say in terms of how I understand and relate to other denominations, which might help you understand the various presentations, how information is being understood and received. So that's the second part. I'll first have the interviews themselves, then go through my thoughts on the various traditions. The final thing I would do as part of this summer denomination series is then come through with a presentation of my evangelical Baptist faith and convictions. I will share, okay, so we heard about these other denominations, my thoughts on these other denominations. Now here's why I am an evangelical Baptist. And hopefully that will help you understand some of the history of evangelical Baptists, where we're coming from, but also our theology and what we actually believe and what we actually do on a Sunday. I find that Baptists, among a few other denominations, are perhaps the most misunderstood or maligned, perhaps, and that's largely because people have, depending where they're from in the world, they have a very one-dimensional image of Baptists, especially evangelical Baptists. So hopefully for a lot of my listeners who aren't maybe in Canada, who come from a different part of the world, it'd be interesting to hear what I believe as an evangelical Baptist and as someone who's gone through seminary and studies church history and is an elder at the church, at my local evangelical Baptist church. Anyway, that's the project for this summer, denominational series. The objective, again, is learning in community. The objective is sharing in honesty. And finally, it is growing in the knowledge of the truth. And hopefully, by the end of this project, everyone who listens will not only come away thinking, hey, there are many good brothers and sisters out there in different traditions than my own, but that we can also have that open and honest dialogue where we can respect and appreciate that we have many similarities, but on the other hand, we do have serious disagreements that we must take seriously and recognize that they do keep us apart. Anyway, that's what's going on with the series. I hope you enjoy, and I hope that if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, that you will really reach out to me in the YouTube comments, in an email, on Facebook, on Discord, wherever you can find me. I would love, as always, for this to be a conversation with all of us. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope that helps explains, and I hope you will look forward to the coming weeks when we have more interviews and start diving into the various other Christian traditions that we will cover. Anyway, that's it for now. Take care.